properties are going to start coming onto the market, which means more opportunities. Eventually, because I've seen a market cycle happen, the price will start to come down and get softer on these properties. Because as it shifts from a seller's market to a buyer's market, now the buyer will have potentially more control. My dollar, I could invest into several other deals. Well, when it's a seller's market, I have $1 and there's only 2 or 3 deals I can invest in, I'm going to be paying a premium there. When there's more inventory, I have more choice, and now these sellers need to compete for my dollars. Hey, what's up all my real estate peeps? This is Brian Lucier with another episode of the Why Not Real Estate Podcast Golden Nugget, where we will take a tip, tactic, or technique and unpack it for you, my viewing audience, that you can disassemble this and reassemble it, that you can use it in your tool bag as an entrepreneur, real estate investor to enhance and make your real estate operations more profitable. Today, I want to unpack inventory opportunities. And I'll start off with some of the people I know who are doing the best on this right now, are doing direct mail campaigns. They are just consistently nailing their direct mail campaigns, and I'll even name them. We've got Zach Gray and Andrew Freed. Shout out to my peeps out there, Andrew and Zach. You guys are crushing it. I keep seeing on your feeds, we closed this deal, we closed this deal, we closed this deal. I'm on their mailing list now, and they keep sending me opportunities. So they're getting deal flow in their pipeline because they're watering that hose. They're getting the deals coming in. So if you're doing a mailing campaign, great, that's one way to do it. I'm going to unpack a few other things that you could be doing. Absolutely, you want to build a relationship with a realtor and have them give you the feed from the MLS. Let them know what your buy box is. I buy this type of property in this type of area, these type of returns, these are the amenities I'm looking for. And be very specific as to what you're going to buy, and then have that realtor send you those feeds. Then you build up and you look at these things, and after you've looked at about 100 deals, kissed 100 frogs, maybe you find a prince, and that's another way to do it. Again, Andrew and Zach, they've got the funding, they've got the money that they set aside and allocate to do that type of a campaign, and that's working for them. And now they're becoming wholesalers on some of these deals. They're looking at the ones that they want, and they're taking the ones that maybe they can make a couple $1,000s on and moving those down the pipeline to other investors who could take advantage of the opportunities that they're finding. Because the hardest thing to do out there right now is to find deals. So, mailing list, open letter mailing. I'm not telling you to open a letter. That's the name of the company if you want to Google it and search it. Open Letter, I think it's Justin Silverio. He owns that company, does a really good job, open letter marketing. We've used him on some. And actually, a deal that I'm doing right now was from a mailing campaign 2 years ago. Sorry. 2 years ago, I got a call from an owner of a property. His mother was managing the property. She was getting up in years, and he was hoping that maybe we could manage the property for him, maybe even potentially buy it. Well, it didn't happen back then 2 years ago. Fast forward 2 years later, the opportunity came back to us. We got an off-market deal, and we're gonna move forward on that deal. You probably heard me mention that in a couple other shows. I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna tell you that mailing campaigns work. It's not gonna be, hey, I sent it out last week and I got a deal 2 weeks from now. Well, that's happened to us before as well, so it can happen, but it's a long-term game. You gotta build that pipeline and be consistent. Don't do 2 or 3 mailings and say, oh, this doesn't work, and give up. You gotta be consistently hitting it over and over and over again. Alex Ragnelson, he's up there in New Hampshire doing this, and you build the deal flow. You gotta find inventory, you gotta get deal flow. Mailing campaigns, investor relationships. if you can find someone like Zach and Andrew and getting on their mailing list, you're going to get some deal flow coming in that way. Some will work, some won't. That's okay. Who's next? I wrote a blog post some time ago, X marks the spot. I think I called it The Beachcomber's Guide to Finding Off-Market Deals. So if you want to go through our blog, you'll probably find it there. But I give the whole recipe on how to go into the appraiser's office, how to get the 111 list, the 112 list. Those are different multifamily categories, classifications. I like multifamily, so that's what I shop for. And then different filters you can do on that list to weed out some of the properties that may or may not work. Out-of-state owners, people who've owned it for more than 15, 20 years. You can look up their mortgages, see if they've been discharged, if they own it outright, which may give you another opportunity for seller financing. Who knows, right? There's so many different ways that you can do this. Go back and watch some of the yellow videos on low or no money down. I think I give you 10 different ideas that you can layer into your deals there. But right now I want to stay on inventory. And it's supply and demand. Right now, there have not, or historically for the last year or so, not a lot of deals on market, so prices have been high. In the last video I just shot, I talked about the one lemming theory and what I think is going to be happening. One investor will put a property out on market because they finally come to the realization that the interest rates are where they are, and now might be a good time to sell before interest rates go up again. Who knows what's going to happen? So that'll go on to the market. And then the next owner will say, well, gee, you know, maybe it's time for me. And this will start a chain reaction event of properties coming onto the market. And I'm a property manager, Bel Air Property Management. And we've seen over the past 6-7 months, probably about a half dozen different of our investors putting their properties out to be sold. So interest rates, people have come to the realization that this is where they are. Probably going to be there for a while, so they've accepted it. They've come to the realization, this is where the market is now, and if I'm going to sell, this is what I'm going to do. The other thing that's been holding people back on inventory, when the interest rates were so high, when they were up a few points higher a year or two ago, people saying, I can't sell my property now because I got to go buy another place to live and I'm going to be paying exorbitant interest rates. I can't do that. So now they see that they have the equity in their property. The interest rates have come down a little bit, so it won't be as painful now for them to take the money off the table and go buy the next deal or house that they want to live in. So that is going to start to spur some more inventory out there as well. Another thing that's spurring the inventory, some of these people who bought at the higher interest rates are now going to start getting squeezed because we're seeing, like, people speculate, right? I'm going to buy this property on an adjustable mortgage rate, but hey, rents have been going up 5% every year. So if I calculate that out over the next 5 years, rents are going to go up another 25%, and I'm going to be golden. Who cares if my mortgage goes up? Well, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes rents go flat. Sometimes rents go down. You may have not seen it in your lifetime, in your market. I'm in my third cycle. I've seen it. I know it's a real thing that rents can go down. And then you're scrambling to find the best renters. But right now, we're scrambling to find inventory. So what do they call it? I got it on my notes here. I'm going to cheat for just a second. Supply and demand. So when supply is low, demand is high, and prices are up. And that's where we've been. Prices have been historically high because rents have been up and not many people have been wanting to sell because interest rates have been too high. Now, interest rates, like I said, people have come to the realization this is where the market is. We're going to see more properties coming out for sale. The 6 or 7 properties we've had our investors, and I've got another one texted me last night, hey, what do you think I could get for my property? So more properties are going to start coming onto the market, which means more opportunities. Eventually, because I've seen a market cycle happen, the price will start to come down and get softer on these properties. Because as it shifts from a seller's market to a buyer's market, Now the buyer will have potentially more control. My dollar, I could invest into several other deals. Well, when it's a seller's market, I have a dollar and there's only 2 or 3 deals I can invest in, I'm going to be paying a premium there. When there's more inventory, I have more choice, and now these sellers need to compete for my dollars. That's coming. I think at the end of 2005, we're going to see a lot more inventory out there. So all the investors I've been investing on the show have been keeping their gunpowder dry. I just mentioned in the last podcast, a couple of my larger investors are buying again. Arn Candela, he's been buying deals in his market. I keep getting his emails. He's got this deal and this deal and this deal. He's consistently been buying because he's finding deals. What's Arn doing? I don't know. But you can go onto the show, get in touch with him, ask him, see what he's doing, how he's finding his deals. Maybe it'll work in your area. Other ways, I talked about the assessors list, where you can find inventory that way, build your own mailing list, and yeah, word of mouth. The next thing I'm going to mention here is getting out to the RIA meetings, real estate investor meetings. I mean, during COVID, we were all locked indoors. We couldn't get out. We couldn't go out and meet people anymore. Now, realtors like Candor Realtor, and I mentioned Zach and Andrew, they're hosting these events. They're out there building their network all the time. They've got these REIs, Real Estate Investor Associations, where you can now meet people face to face, build that network. They say your network is your net worth. So get out there and meet these people and talk to them and see what they're doing and get deal flow going. And if you really wanted to get some deal flow going, build relationships with the wholesalers. These are the people who are doing the mailing lists. They're doing all that hard work that you don't need to be doing. They want to find that deal. They don't want to buy the deal. They want to unload it to someone who can buy that property off of their hands, and then they move on to the next one. They don't have to go through the whole closing process. They don't want to be a landlord. They don't want to deal with tenants. They don't want to deal with tenant-landlord law. They want to find a deal, make their killing, and move on to the next deal, which is a great opportunity for you if you are a buy and hold and want to own that property. You are a property manager, you want to manage the property, you want to be a landlord, buy and hold. Great, all day long, build your network with brokers, wholesalers, and brokers too. You can always get in touch with a broker who can feed you the MLS feeds. I mean, for the longest time in my investing career, I had 2 different realtors sending me feeds. One was in one market, one was in another market, and I would cherry pick those deals. As soon as I saw something I liked, I had the flexibility because of my work environment. I say, hey, great, I just saw this one come in last night. I'll be at that property at 8 o'clock in the morning. See if you can get me in. I'll go through it. I'll put in an offer. And we bought so many properties that way by being accessible, taking action, being there. Inventory, other ways that you can find inventory. Let people know that you're a buyer. Tell them that you're interested. You can jog neighborhoods. You can look for that lawn on the neighborhood that's, growing 2 feet tall. Somebody's not taking care of the property. There's so many different ways that you can find inventory. And I want to wrap up this section here. President Trump is coming in and he's trying to make accessible so much government land that will now be added as opportunity zones. If you've heard the buzzword before, opportunity zones, a lot of these cities and towns have been trying to redevelop areas and neighborhoods in their towns and municipalities. So they took blocks of properties that they've earmarked for reinvestment of the city to do infrastructure or this or that, or favorable terms for taxes, or whatever it is the incentive they've been doing. As long as you meet the criteria they want, they'll give you a deal on the taxes or even purchasing the property from the city, vacant land, vacant buildings in opportunity zones. Now, we're going to step back nationally. What President Trump is trying to do is to take some of these national parks where there's acres and acres and acres upon land. President Trump, whether you love him or hate him, he's a real estate guy. That's his bread and butter. That was his forte growing up. He did real estate, he did investing, he did deals. He still does. So he's seeing this land as an opportunity to solve some of the housing crisis that we have in the country. We're still short about 4 million dwelling units. And with more people coming into the country, that number is going to fluctuate and go higher. As I said in previous broadcasts, we are becoming a nation of renters. So the American dream of owning your own home. One of my sons owns his own home. He does really well. The other one has a condo in LA, doing very well. Not in LA proper, but he's doing very well. So yeah, it can happen. But I'm seeing it more and more difficult for people to get into home ownership. So there's going to be more renters. I like this game. I like being a landlord. I like being able to provide rental housing, clean, decent housing for families that deserve it. And the whole key to that, if you don't have inventory, I don't care if you're selling ice cream or widgets. If you don't have deal flow coming in for ice cream that you can resell, or widgets that you can resell, or properties that you can buy and rent out, then you don't have deal flow, you don't have deals, you don't have a business. Last, I want to get back on to President Trump, what he's trying to do here. If he makes this land available, obviously, out in the middle of nowhere, it's not going to work. But if it's fringed on an area where it's accessible, maybe in a suburb or something like that, then these opportunity zones that are coming out are going to have huge tax advantages for investors who are ready to take advantage of these opportunities, because the government is going to make it attractive for you to invest into this land to create housing. Because property taxes, that creates revenue for government, right? State, federal, local, all of it. So everyone's going to win in that type of situation. Who's not going to win if they're building these single-family homes and it's just not affordable? Then it might be better suited for other purposes. And for me, I'm a multifamily guy all day long. If you had me buy a strip mall or this or that, I'd be lost, wouldn't know what to do. Put me in charge of a rental property with residents. I know where I am. I know these waters. I know how to navigate that ship. So, inventory. I've given you some ideas here on how you might be able to find it. Mailing lists, get to the RIAs, contact with brokers, contact with wholesalers, get out there, tell people that you're a real estate investor, tell them what type of properties you're looking for, get yourself some business cards, make yourself a free website, whatever it takes. Get the assessor's list, get all these things in motion. You want to have multiple streams of deal flow coming. And if you can do that, if you can get your deal flow, you're going to be in business. So there we are, inventory opportunities. That's our topic for today's Golden Nugget. This is Brian Lucier from the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, Golden Nugget, signing off, and we're going to see you on the next one.